Hey there, podcast listening people. Hope you're having a phenomenal day. And first off, just want to say I'm super grateful for you listening into the show. Very much appreciate it for bringing you this thing. Please do us this tiny favor in return. Make sure you, number one, leave a review wherever you're listening. Even if you just leave 5 stars, if you like the show, chances are other people will as well. And giving us reviews helps us to be more discovered. So please leave a review and please make sure that you subscribe so you get notified when we update new episodes each and every single week. Wherever, again, we're on all your favorite podcast platforms. So if you're listening on one right now, that's kind of random. Well, go find the podcast app that you like and go subscribe. Mile High Mentors. Which, by the way, I have a phenomenal guest that we are bringing to you today. Meta Sarmiento is a award-winning Filipino rapper, speaker, and poet born and raised in Guam. His work often reflects on family, identity, love, loss, masculinity, and healing. Julius, you're going to hate me, but Meta described himself as a rapper in his bio that he sent us. So I'm going to call him a rapper. And I mean, the guy, like, totally, this is going to be he is going to be one of the biggest up and coming names in hip hop, in rap, in music. I guarantee it. You want to go follow this guy. Make sure you check out the links to go follow him on his social media platforms, his website and everything. His message is amazing and his art is incredible. It was a blast getting a chance to interview him. Meta's recipient of 2020 Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award from Denver Asian American Pacific Islander Commission, winner of the 2019 Yes to Purpose Hip Hop Challenge Tournament. He's also a TEDx speaker and has won a number of other major awards that I just don't even have the time to list out here. The guy truly is a leader in the community, and again, can't wait to bring this to you. Real quick, before we get there, if you're interested in partnering up with the show, collaborating, you got guests you recommend, best way to get us is twofold. Number one, shoot us an email, milehighmentors@gmail.com. Again, milehighmentors@gmail.com. You can always send us an email there. Any of the above collaborations, we're always looking for local folks to collaborate with. Or you can just send us a message. We tend to use Instagram the most, so you can feel free to hit us on the gram or Facebook or wherever you find me, Connor Dube, you find Julius, the co-producer. Send us a message. Even if you just want to give us feedback, we love to hear from you folks. And one additional thing as well, no matter what business you're in, whether you're a startup, you've been around for years, the missing pieces to having success with any product, service, nonprofit, no matter what it is that you do, is reaching people. Reaching enough of the right people and being able to consistently stay in front of them. Now, a lot of people don't realize that LinkedIn is the best, most underrated platform in order to do this. People just don't know how to take advantage of it. It's been around a while, and even still to this day, the reach and the consistency that you can have in your marketing there is phenomenal. So where I'm going with that is our partners over at activeblogs.com. They're here to help fix your stalled or underperforming B2B content and LinkedIn marketing initiatives. What you want to do is go check out the free resource they put together for you. It is at activeblogs.com/webinar. It is a free training on the missing links to LinkedIn success. Again, activeblogs.com/webinar. Make sure you go check it out and make sure you're getting the reach and the consistency that you deserve in your business. Okay, folks, without further ado, please give it up. Please welcome my friend Meta Sarmiento to the Mile High Mentors podcast. This is it. We're live.
All right. So this thing around my neck.
And feel free if you want to scoot your chair in a little bit.
Right, cool.
Get this sucker up in here.
Yes. So the thing around my neck is called the Sanahi. It was a gift, actually. And so culturally, the Chamorros, who are the indigenous people of Guam, I think some scholars believe that it signified rank and like who you were in the village. So I never wore one growing up because I'm Filipino, so I never thought it right to be wearing one. But when I left the island, one of someone I looked up to, a cultural leader, Zita Pangilinan, gifted it to me, and she told me to represent our islands and represent our people. And I was just like, yo, this is a very big deal for me, you know what I mean, to be gifted this. So initially she was like, wear it at your special events and stuff like that. But then I also felt like it's not a costume though, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to treat it like a costume. So I decided to just wear it every day, and just like it kind of reminds me of where I come from in my roots in the island, and
So mentors that played an important role.
Yeah,
in your life.
Very important role. I think
Yeah.
so. And a bunch of my English professors, I think, at the college were great mentors too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Do you have like other people in the music industry that you look up to? Was this when you had left Guam, or you had gone back to Guam visit?
When I'd left Guam. Yeah, when I'd left Guam, like completely. When everybody knew I relocated and left, I wasn't coming back for a while. That's when Auntie Zita gave this to me.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So when did you leave Guam?
So I left Guam in the summer of 2016, so close to 4 years ago now.
Wow, it's only been 4 years.
Yeah, it flew by really fast. It doesn't even feel like 4 years, to be honest. It's funny, I left on July 4th. I arrived here on July 4th.
That's like the best day to land
I know, right?
in America, if anything.
People
Welcome to America!
Hey, I'm here, I've arrived, you know what I mean? So it's like, I wanted Independence Day to mean something different for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose July 4th. It was like, yeah, let's redefine what Independence Day is for me. So boom.
And had you been visited the U.S. before you moved
here?
here?
I think there's a lot of like misconception with what Guam is and all of that stuff, right? So it was funny because when I first got here, a lot of people were kind of like, where is Guam? Like people were like hella ignorant about where Guam was.
Right.
Which is understandable, I guess. It's not like I know everything about Iowa, you know what I mean? Or Kansas, But yeah, so Guam is an unincorporated territory of the United States, and we're all born as U.S. citizens, and the political relationship we have with the U.S. is very long and messy, and it's a bloody history. So a lot of people think like Guam is a foreign place, but then everyone in Guam is like, we're Americans. So it's a really weird friction between the U.S. and...
How big is Guam?
Guam is 7 miles wide, 31 miles long. It's tiny.
Really?
Yeah, it's super small, bro.
How did I never know that was a part of the U.S. too? That's not uncommon though? I'm not just that ignorant.
It's not uncommon, no, definitely. Like a lot of Americans have no idea what Guam is, and which is funny because Guam's slogan is "Where America's Day Begins." You know what I'm saying? Like because of the date lines, right? Literally, Guam is where America's Day begins. When the sun rises, Guam is the first U.S. soil that sees the day. They're literally in the future. Yeah. Like right now, everybody's in Guam who's following me is in the future.
Hey, Guam.
You know what I mean? So it's crazy.
Yeah. So what does Guam mean to you?
That's a tough question. What you mean? What do you mean by what it means?
What does it mean to you?
I mean, it's home. I'm Filipino, but I was born and raised in Guam. If you're you basically consider yourself American citizens, but what's the culture differences? For sure. And I think that's where it gets murky a little bit because it's extremely westernized for sure. Like our system of school and the laws that govern us, like it's super American. But then you have like the island lifestyle and like growing up, the values you're taught is very Pacific Islander and like very unique to the region, I guess. Like maybe not unique necessarily to the region, but like just values of family, right? Values of community, taking care of each other, things like that. A lot of what happens in Guam centers itself around food. Like anything big, any event, you know what I'm saying? Anything special, there's always food involved, usually cooked by the people who are involved in the event, So like there are those, I guess, intangibles. And I tell a lot of people too, bro, like a lot of people don't realize, like, we kind of talk different, I guess, you know what I mean? And just like our mannerisms are different. And I never really realized it until I moved stateside and I started to realize, like, nobody laughs like me around here. Like, bro, like when I, you know what I'm saying? Like, so many islanders, like when they're cracking up, it's like their whole body, bro. Like, we're just like flailing.
Oh, you mean like not sound laugh, like no, physically, there's like a laugh.
Yeah. Like we laugh with our entire bodies.
Interesting.
You know? Like, and that's something that you don't realize until you're stateside.
I wonder what's behind that.
I don't know.
It's just a cultural thing.
Yeah, it's just a cultural thing.
And everyone in Guam speaks English, or is there an alternate language?
So I think officially the language is still Chamorro, again, which is the indigenous. But because...
And you speak fluent...
Chamorro? No, I don't speak fluent Chamorro. I am bilingual though, like I can speak Tagalog, which is Filipino, and I know a little bit of Chamorro because we were required to take Chamorro language classes growing up in Guam, and then English. But yeah. People generally speak English, yeah.
So what led you to, coming over to Colorado? Did you go straight to Colorado from Guam?
Mm-hmm. I just made the jump.
Wow.
That's a pretty tough question. So when I was leaving, to make conversation short, right? I was like, I'm leaving for my PhD. And so everyone's just like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? After you tell them that, there's like, okay, cool, you're going for school. But in reality, I left because I love Guam with all my heart and all the people and everyone I left behind. But I felt like I stopped growing as an artist. I feel like at the time, I felt like I was just regurgitating all of the same themes and concepts and, just all the work I was creating. I felt like it had hit a ceiling, and I knew I needed to move to grow. I needed to be somewhere completely different, somewhere that was not inside of my comfort zone. But I also knew that I wasn't ready for the grind that is Los Angeles, right? And I wasn't ready for the meanness of New York City. And
so you settled for straight in the middle.
Exactly. That's perfect. So I was like, middle of the United States, cool, I'll go there.
Bing.
Bing.
Did you have connections here before?
None, man.
Moved here, nothing?
None.
Wow.
No.
That's very courageous
friends.
of you.
No,
most people wouldn't do
I
that.
have an uncle in Colorado Springs, but we weren't like close or anything. Like I probably saw him once my entire life for like my grandma's funeral when he came to Guam. But yeah, I really moved here with nobody, my brother and my sister-in-law, we made the jump together, so I at least had that, but we didn't live together when we first got here. We actually made a conscious decision not to. We were like, we're gonna find our separate ways and understand ourselves individually for an entire year before we even discuss moving back in together as a family to help us, to help each other out. So yeah, I guess that's why I moved to here. Oh, and I wanted to snowboard. As bougie as that might come off to some people, I really wanted to snowboard, man.
Why would that be bougie? Snowboarding's awesome.
Yeah, snowboarding's super cool. Like,
can you surf also?
Oh, dude,
Is there good surfing?
There's pretty good surf in Guam, to be honest.
Yeah,
but I never got into it.
I mean, like all I do is body surfing, so
like bodyboarding, right?
Yeah.
I learned how to bodyboard years ago, and my first day out, I got slammed so hard. I remember getting out of the water, and I was just like bleeding everywhere. You know what I mean? And I was just like, nope, I am not doing this.
It's like smash coral or something like that?
Yeah, because we went to a place called Boat Basin, and the water is a little shallow at Boat Basin, and it's not a shore that you're crashing onto, it's like this rock face in the harbor. So if you get pounded, you're hitting that rock face.
Dang.
And I got pounded. Like no one really taught me how to duck dive. You know what I'm saying? Like all my homies were just like, okay, if you're scared of a wave, just go as deep as you can. And I'm just like, okay, but like when do you know when to do that? You're just like, you'll feel it. And it's like, no, it didn't happen, bro. It didn't work out. So I never got into surfing. I learned how to snowboard when I was like 15 in Japan when my brother lived there. And that's when I fell in love with snowboarding. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to actually do this. And that's part of why I consider Denver. And yeah, I'm glad I did, because now I snowboard like every weekend. When the
really?
season's, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and you're going to Houston this weekend. Not a whole lot of snowboarding.
No, I'm
there.
a little sad.
Well, so I'm curious. You said something that piqued my interest. Was you felt part of the reason you left was you wanted that expansion, that growth. You felt like you couldn't expand out to where you're kind of regionally. Maybe it was the people. What led you to that? Was it a person? Was it did you study something that kind of gave you that mindset? Like, what instilled that mindset? Because that's not common, by the way. Otherwise, everyone would do it.
Yeah. That's a great question. Let me try and picture where I was. I think it was a series of events that finally led me there. I was looking for ways in Guam to get my work out, right? The only way to grow as an artist, especially like as a business entity, right? As a professional, is if more and more people heard me, watched me. And Guam is literally like 5,000 plus miles away from California or something like that. And it was I just felt like at the time, in that day and age, there's no Spotify. You know what I'm saying? All we had really was YouTube.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
Spotify was around, wasn't it?
It wasn't popping yet, though. Oh. And there was no real way for independent artists. Like, we didn't know how to get on yet.
Right.
Right. Like, none of us really understood, how do we get on iTunes? We didn't know that. I didn't have that knowledge yet. And so I was constantly looking for ways to go outside of the people who already knew who I was. And one way I was doing it was YouTube at the time was popping with cypher challenges. So cypher challenges, the way it normally worked a few years ago was somebody put out a beat and called rappers out, and they were just like, who's the dopest rapper that can get on this beat? Let's have a challenge. And then it evolved into like, we're going to vote on who's the dopest, and this rapper is going to receive an X amount of money for it. Right. And that was like a really cool way to get seen, because all over the world, people were watching these YouTube cypher videos. And I remember one of the first cypher videos that I posted that actually got like, I think 10K views, which at the time was like, oh my God, we got 10K, It was the Duke Westlake cypher, I think. And at the time, I called out all the rappers in Guam onto it. And so, like, all the rappers came out of the woodwork. And it's like, wow, we actually have a bunch of rappers on the island.
It was like, there's a community there that you didn't know existed.
Like, oh my gosh, here's
That's
everybody.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, and then I started doing the Team Backpack Cypher challenges. And their challenge was really unique in the sense that they chose the top rappers and they invited them to, like, either Los Angeles or New York City to compete in their live cypher takes. Because at the time, their videos were doing so much numbers, like incredible numbers, past 100K numbers. Like, if you got on their video, their official YouTube channel, like, you could literally start your career. At least at the time, that's what we all believed. And so I had become a semifinalist like 3 years in a row, man. Like from 2014 or I think 13.
I mean, it doesn't
14,
surprise
15,
me. It doesn't surprise
thanks.
me.
Dude,
you're great. You're good.
Thank you.
You're great.
Thank you.
I mean, you seriously are like, dude. Your style, like, it resonates. And I know a lot of rappers in Colorado.
Word.
Hip hop artists.
He calls
me. I was like, say hip hop artists, because like rappers
get
like
stink out like rapper.
Yeah, kind of. Well, do that. Like, do you experience that?
Yeah.
You feel like when you tell people like, I'm a rapper, but I'm also a poet and I'm a speaker and I help,
I do stuff in the community. No, I totally agree with you.
Dude, you're a community leader too. You're not, when people think rapper, obviously, I mean, how many rappers have died recently?
Right.
And then here you are, you're a community leader, and that's actually how I heard of you to begin with.
Yeah.
And then I started following you on Instagram. We met, ran at like
at a bar or something like that.
Yeah, because I was at a networking event. Someone points over and they're like, hey, dude, that's Meta, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go introduce myself. So I just came over and said hi or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it was Jim Darling. Shout out Jim Darling.
Hey!
Yeah, great photographer. I think he made the connection.
Yeah, but said nothing about you being a rapper then. And I went and followed you on Instagram, and I just started seeing some of your stuff that you're posting. I'm like, holy shit, this guy is phenomenal.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate
you
that.
are.
Thank you.
You're going to be one of the greatest. I guarantee
hope so.
Dude, I know it. I see the future, like, in people.
That's what's up.
I bet the bank on that thing. So that's awesome, man. You're doing, and but back to like community involvement.
Yeah,
your community involvement it's so great that you're doing that also, and giving back as well. Not like you're trying to make it and then give back. You're doing it along the way, man.
I'm trying. I think, yeah, like going back and like fusing those two ideas, like the whole rapper persona that so many people get caught up with is so far from like the community leader person, right? And for me, it's people do kind of react like, you're a rapper? Like, great. You know what I mean? Like, you and a million other people. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's definitely important for people to also hear that, like, I'm a rapper and this and that and that. And it's often a challenge, to be honest, because people like their categories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
People like their boxes because it helps them pass judgment easier on you. So if you're a rapper, cool. I have a preconceived notion of rappers, and therefore this is how I feel about you. You're a poet? Cool. You know what I mean? And then what happens, though, when I'm like all of these things at the same time? And for me, the way I tell people is like, I'm just meta, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's in the name in case you missed it. You know what I mean? But really, I have to categorize myself for you. You know what I mean? Because it helps you process who I am a little bit easier. And like, to me, I don't even make delineations no more. Like, I'm just me, you know? Like, this is just who I am. I care about my community and I want to make it. And I'm going to take us with us when I make it. You know what I mean? I'm going to make it you know, just like, it's just
weird that we do that, huh? Right? Like, you meet somewhere like, oh, what do you do?
Yes.
And the reason we ask that most of the time isn't because we actually care.
Yeah.
It's because we're trying to figure out what box do you fit into, so I can socially categorize you amongst other people in the room.
That's just how it works.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm like you though in that, like, you don't fit in any one box. Like, dude, I started doing stand-up comedy recently.
What? I didn't know that.
I write, like, you know, I do videos, I do podcasts, I've, you know, got a business and a number of different things. It's like just playing with, you know, life.
Yeah. Right? Like, there's just so much.
But meta, that's a good one.
No, I'm just meta. Like, you know.
So who instilled that mindset into you?
That's a good question. So what a lot of people don't realize about me is that I used to hate poetry. I hated it. I actually started out as a short story writer back in middle school. It wasn't until my high school, at the tail end of high school, that I was introduced to spoken word poetry. So 3 key people, Melvin Wampat Borja, Kisa Suico, Fanai Castro, back in Guam, they came, they visited my high school, and they did spoken word. And I had no idea that this existed. Like, what is this kind of poems? Like, I'd never seen this in my life. What is this?
Were you rapping at the time? Or like,
no, I was just strictly a short story guy. That's all I was doing. And
fan fiction stuff.
Yeah,
for the most
you know
part.
what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff. And they introduced me to this art form that I didn't know was allowed to exist. Like, I can sound like that on a microphone. I could just talk about, like, these really cool things that I actually related to. Like, what am I going through in life? And, you know, not to knock, like, Shakespeare or Frost or anything. Like, they're amazing poets, amazing writers, but, like, what's a high school kid gonna see in Shakespeare? You know what I mean? Like, really nothing. We learn it because it's on a test. Let's be real. Not to knock Shakespeare, though. He's amazing. But at the time, I decided I'm gonna try out spoken word. I went to a poetry slam. And like, at the time, there was no youth versus adults. The way it's very common now, there's a youth division and an adult poetry slam division. And there's a clear line, right? Once you're 19 and up, you're competing with the adults. Back in the day when I started, it was just like everybody for themselves. So I went to my first poetry slam and I beat out a bunch of adults. I got 3rd place. And that was the first indication to me, like, oh, I could be good at this. And so I continued on refining myself as a spoken word poet. And I guess the people who introduced me brought me back to the high schools to perform for the kids. And I remember I did this poem called Riot, and it was about, like, the gang affiliation and all the trouble I had gotten into as a teenager. And I remember at the end of the outreach at this school, this kid walks up to me, shakes my hand, and he says, "Bro, thanks for doing that poem. I think you just changed my life." And that was the moment that I realized this is bigger than me now. You know, like, I'm not not to sound like self-centered or whatever, or like I am a messiah or whatever, but like I never understood the power of words and the power of a positive influence in that, the way I did in that moment. And that's when I realized I could be more than just this slick talk rapper with like hot bars, or like this dope poet who got clever lines. I could actually do work and like help change lives, you know what I mean? And just be a positive impact some way, somehow for somebody else, you know? And that, I think that was the seed. And through the years, through the past decade, it just continued to grow and refine itself and evolve.
I mean, dude, that's why I love listening to your stuff so much, is it has depth to it. It really does. Like, there's actual substance there.
I try.
And that's lacking a lot. I mean, not to say there's not greats who haven't done that.
Yeah, for sure.
But the fact that you have a poetry background leading up to that, and poetry has to have substance, because there's no beat around it.
100%.
There's like, you know, it's just the words.
Yep.
So
there's nowhere to hide. There's nothing to hide behind.
That's a good way to put it.
And your voice and your words, and that's it. There's no beat that can mask any imperfections or lack of depth. You know what I mean? It's all out and open, and it's so vulnerable. And I'm glad I started out with poetry. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of poets who can't make the crossover, though. Like, in my experience, I've seen a bunch of poets try to delve into rap. Yeah. It just doesn't work for them for some reason. I don't know.
What's the difference that makes it so challenging?
I think there is a line between the depth that you can put into poems and the depth that you can reach in rap, right? Like, I always say form follows function, right? So there are certain things I'll never try to touch in rap lyrics, because it's just too complex and too complicated. There's not enough space to explore the ideas fully the way you can in poetry, which is just open verse. And some poets, I think, make the mistake of trying to be super deep in rap, like as deep as they can go in poetry, and it just doesn't click oftentimes. Like, your absurd metaphors in a rap song don't sit the way they sit in a poem. Because on the page or even on a stage, I have time to sit and dissect what you're saying. But rap listeners, there's a certain depth where it's like, okay, that's way too deep for me to go into right now. Like, I can't even reach what you're trying to say. So there's that line that you got to learn how to walk, I think. And not every poet is successful making the crossover.
So when you're creating, do you create a poem first and then turn it into a rap? Or do you find a beat and then write a poem around it? Or none of that? Like, how does your creative process work?
Oh man, I think when I want to write a rap song, the beat is usually what dictates the process. Like, I hunt for beats online, or I hit up producers, and I take a really long time to listen to the beat. And this might sound funky to a lot of people, but I listen for like what the beat is doing to me. You know what I mean? Like, how is the beat making me feel? What kind of tone is it setting in my mind? What words are kind of popping up in my brain as I'm listening to the beats, right? Because certain beats will elicit certain emotions, and that in itself will lead to certain words. And once those words start to bubble, that's when, like, the content, the subject matter of what the song is going to be starts to happen. So you feel the beat first, 100%. Then you write around it. Yeah, 100%.
Interesting.
I always listen to the beat.
Is that how
first.
most rappers do it?
I don't know, to be honest. Yeah. I think a lot of rappers have their own, like, personal preferences and stuff like that. So I can't really speak on it. Huh? What?
Hip-hop artists.
Hip-hop artists. Dude, he doesn't mind.
A lot of hip-hop artists.
Well, it's funny because, dude, he DM'd me after I made that post, and you're like, dude, that's so funny.
I was cracking up.
You didn't seem to mind too much. Like,
no, not at all.
Because, like, dude, when I say rapper, like, hip-hop artists, I think is a little bit different. But when I say rap, I mean, anyways, what was I saying? In my mind, like, rap is a monster category. I mean, it's like, hip hop is a category all in itself. Mm-hmm. And, like, when I listen to your stuff, I don't like hip hop. I don't know. I just don't think hip hop. I think rap.
Yeah. Word. Yeah.
But not in a negative way.
Not wrong. No, yeah. I wouldn't say wrong. But I also understand where Julius, the producer's coming from.
Yeah. I mean, he's got more experience than me, so I just need to shut up and just listen. Just listen to the man.
I don't know. I don't mind any though. Yeah, rapper, hip hop artist.
Are your parents in Guam?
Yeah, they are actually in Guam. I wonder if they're watching right now. I don't
know. Fam.
Yeah, they're still in Guam.
We can share the Facebook video later.
For sure. They'll love that.
That's where family is.
Yeah.
Your family doesn't follow you on Instagram.
No. I remember the day my mom got an Instagram and she was like, oh, how do you use this?
She doesn't log into Instagram. Let's be real. She's only on Facebook.
Like, I don't know how to use this. Like, okay, Ma, I'll teach you. But yeah, they're in Guam. They're coming up on retirement soon. In a few years, I think in about 5 years, they'll be able to retire comfortably. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm always curious, and like, you know, our parents play a big role in where we are. And so for you, are they in music? Are they in entrepreneurship? Yeah, what's their background?
So my parents, they're as Filipino parents can get, you know what I'm saying? And all the Filipinos out there understand what I'm talking about. I remember coming home one day and telling my parents I wanted to be a rapper. And they looked at me totally like, no, you know what I mean? Like, don't do that. You're throwing your life away. My parents came from poverty in the Philippines. They immigrated to Guam in the 70s. And, you know, they don't have a unique immigrant story. It's very much, and that I think that's the power in their story, is that they, like thousands of other Filipino immigrants, had to struggle and had to make ends meet. You know, my mom juggled 3 jobs, waiting tables, cashier, had to run McDonald's, you know what I'm saying? My dad worked a couple of jobs too, trying to make ends meet. So we didn't have a lot growing up, right? And they didn't necessarily get to choose where they ended up. Now they're managers of a tire shop and / gas company administration kind of work. So my mom's really, she's an administrative accountant, never went to school for it, but somehow found herself as an administrative accountant for like this colossal business in Guam. And my dad works like the managerial side too, like the floor and scheduling and handling of employees in the same company. So very practical, right? Very practical, pay the bills job, and they're comfortable now. So when I told them I wanted to be an artist, like a full-time, I want to make my living off of the arts, writing, performing, teaching, writing, and performing.
Because initially you were coming to get your PhD, right? Wasn't that your thing? So I'm going to be a doctor, and then like 2 months in the, like in Colorado, you're like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be in music instead.
You know, and so they, at first, when I first told them years ago that I wanted to do this, they were not supportive. And that's partly why I went to school, right? I went and got my bachelor's in literature. I got my master's in teaching, partly because I wanted them to know that if this don't work out, I got something to fall back on. And the whole PhD thing is definitely a personal goal of mine, but the PhD will be there when I'm ready, right? It wasn't until they started seeing traction, like I started making the headlines in Guam, right? I started getting in the newspaper. I started getting interviewed by local radio and news stations. I started going off island to compete at these national events. I started winning contests. That's when they realized writing and performing is not just another hobby. Because I picked up a lot of hobbies as a kid, and I don't do any of them now, right? And so they, I guess, initially thought this is just a hobby. Like, don't put your eggs in that basket, right? Like, this is not going to be a job. It's a hobby. Until they started seeing, like, wait, our son might actually have a shot at this. To the point where my dad, I remember sitting with my dad and him asking me, like, you know, do you want to go to the Philippines? You know, you're a shoo-in. If we fly you to the Philippines and you get on one of these, like, TV contests, like, Philippines is going to love you.
Now he's all like,
super supportive. Yeah, now both my parents are extremely supportive and very proud, very proud. I remember my mom visited, I think, last year, and she brought back, like, this poster board printout of a story that a news outlet in Guam had done after I did my TEDx talk here. Like, so she's very proud. She's like, frame this, you know what I mean? And now they're super supportive, and I'm glad I have their support, because I don't know how I'd feel trying to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish without their love and encouragement. So
definitely, that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and going back and looking at it, would you, if you had to go back and do it again, would you have spent the time in school?
To be honest, no. I think if I could have done it again and do it over, that would be a change I would have made.
You would have gone all in on music?
All in on music right away.
Really?
I think...
Because I feel the same way
about
my career path too, but I'm always interested. Because not to say like there's not value in school in some
definitely
sense, but I feel I'd be way more ahead of where I am now if I didn't go to school.
Yeah.
But that's just me. And I feel like with your work ethic, probably very similar.
I actually feel exactly that way. Not to say I regret it, but if I had the chance to do it over, I think I would have bypassed college and just went all in. And I would have left Guam sooner, because in the last 3.5 years that I've been here, like the amount of growth I've had, not just as a human and as an artist, but as a professional, like as a business entity, as a sole proprietor, in the last 3 years, like I've made so much progress. Imagine if I had started doing what I'm doing now 8 years ago. I don't know. I don't even know where I'd be right now, really. So, yeah, I think that's definitely a big question mark. Like, what if you didn't go to school and you just said, I'm out, I'm going to do this, all in?
I always think about it, too.
Yeah. Tough. Can't get back those days.
Where'd you go to school?
University of Guam. Home of the Tritons. Yeah. Got my bachelor's and master's.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think you'll ever end up using your degree at any point in time? Or,
man.
do you see yourself... I mean, I think I know the answer. This is probably a stupid question. I'm going to move on from that question because it's actually a stupid question. Well, I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, there's no way you would not make it in music. It'd be a stupid question to ask you.
Yeah.
What do you think you'd do otherwise? Like,
what do you do when it doesn't
I don't think you should, man. I don't think you should. I think you should go all in on that.
There is no plan B. There's only a plan A, right?
Definitely.
I did teach, and that's the other thing too. I was teaching full time as a creative writing teacher. I was using it, for a couple years, and then I realized I don't want to do it. Like I was in a classroom and I just didn't want to do this anymore. I was like, I love teaching. I love the process of education and the magic that happens when a group of individuals are learning something. I love that, but I don't need to be in the classroom to have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could teach.
And you kind of do that now, right?
Exactly.
With some of your...
Right, and that's what I mean. It's like I get hired now to teach workshops all around, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So I guess in a sense I am still using my master's in teaching, because a lot of the things I learned I incorporate when I do workshops around the city and out of the city. So, yeah, but if at all possible, I would like to not have to work as a full-time educator again, because I just... Props to all my teacher friends out there, because it's hard work. Especially in Guam and really in any public school, you're dealing with like 100-something kids a day, and then you're grading papers and you're planning lessons. And honestly, teachers, you do not get paid enough. Teachers don't get paid enough. Yeah,
the model's got to change
100%.
A bit. The way information is, like, I've bought thousands of dollars of courses that aren't like from university. Now, I got my marketing degree at Metro State University, and I still continue to invest in my education, but I don't know, man. I've gone back. And first off, just to touch on, isn't it amazing when you teach something, you really, really start to learn it yourself.
Oh my gosh,
you don't even realize how much until you start trying to teach it.
Yes.
And then you're like, whoa, like, holy crap, I'm learning this as I'm teaching it, like even better. And you think of like other
ways.
Of other professionals who do that too. It's like, you really don't know until you start teaching it. Like, you really do not know a subject matter. Yeah. Which is interesting.
100%.
That's how you got that spot.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you all about that process. It was crazy. Mentors. In that case, Mike Shinoda is definitely a big one for me. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mike. Do you know Linkin Park? Yeah. Linkin Park was the rapper. Mike Shinoda was the rapper on Linkin Park. Yeah. Yeah, so I think...
Kid I grew up with is his... Wait, he's the lead singer? He's not the one who killed himself, right?
No, not Chester.
Okay,
no.
okay.
Mike was the rapper, yeah.
Got it.
So Mike Shinoda, he was the rapper on Linkin Park, and I grew up pretty much on Linkin Park.
Interesting.
And yeah. It just
metal, yeah.
Yeah, it's like rock rap, right?
Yeah.
And then when they weren't rapping, it was very like alternative rock, alternative metal, I guess. But Mike, for me, until this day, I think he's one of the most like inspiring artist out there for me, because he wasn't just a rapper, he was also like a graffiti writer, he was a visual artist, and he was like an all-around musician. Like he could play almost every instrument, drums, piano, all of that. So I think as a kid, I remember thinking often, like, I just want to be like Mike.
Be like Mike. Is that a movie?
It's a movie.
Yeah. It's such a good movie.
It is a good movie. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be like Mike.
What a classic.
Like
Mike. That's the name
like
of the
Mike.
movie. Yeah.
I just want to be like Mike Shinoda. I just wanted to be like just this like force of nature when it came to art. And just like all the interviews that they did and the way they talked about their art. It was like my first real relationship to somebody passing off knowledge about an art form outside of school, right? I was like, I don't know, 13 or something. And I was just like, I didn't know you could talk about art like this. I didn't know there was so much that went into this.
Yeah.
Like, what? And that's what Mike was.
Isn't that crazy?
Everything
has that level of depth. That's why I love doing this too, is like, you're in a different, it's like pens. You could, there's a whole level of depth to everything that you don't realize till someone like that opens your eyes to it. Yeah, it breaks it down.
100%. So he's definitely up there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And obviously, I got to ask this question. I'm sure other people do. Is there a particular artist that influences you besides him, of course?
Besides Mike.
What other music artists or influences on you?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are probably not going to know these people, but the Blue Scholars, they were an underground Filipino rap group. Gio was the Filipino in the duo out of Seattle. I definitely was like, I think in my transition from poetry to rap, I was just, Blue Scholars was on a replay for a long time, including like the Native Guns, Bamboo from LA, all a bunch of like Filipino dudes.
Really?
Yeah, just like...
What is it that, was it just kind of more the cultural background, or?
I think definitely the cultural background was there, but more so just like, they made... This sounds so whack. They made activism so cool. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like I didn't know you could talk about politics in such an engaging way, because up until those years,
well, music does that in a lot of forms,
right? A lot of forms, 100%. It just introduces these topics in a way that like I didn't know we can engage with that. I didn't know I was allowed to engage with that topic this way. Right, and even like art installations, right, like that. And I think the Blue Scholars, Native Guns, and in particular Bamboo, like they made these very large, complex issues that I had been interested in a long time palpable and like digestible in like a way where I can like, I could do. Oh, okay, word. Like I can get down to this.
I can feel it. I'm gonna have to have you send me
for sure. I'll send you all of their stuff.
Yeah.
So them definitely, and like I guess the new school influences.
Because I love discovering new music.
Yeah,
there's like, dude, what's more magical than just finding something else?
Right?
You're like, whoa, this exists.
Yeah,
and it's like you find out the artist is like 15 years old.
Yeah,
or no, not 15 years old. Like been around
15 years ago. They've been doing this.
Yeah.
Dang,
and you're like, oh my god, I've been missing out on this. When you find that new song, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Honestly, dude, that's how I felt when I started hearing your music. I'm like, whoa.
Oh, that's what's up.
This dude, whoa, this guy exists and he's here. This is so cool. It's going to be so big coming out of Colorado.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, man. So those are definitely big influences for me. New school influences would probably be like, I don't know, the normal dudes that everyone has on their list. Kendrick, J. Cole. For sure, those guys I look up to, and I
can hear that.
Yeah, I just digest their music, and like I study it critically, like line by line. Like, okay, what's he doing here? Like I study it with a poetic lens, right? So like, what's happening here? What tools are they using? So
and your voice too. Like even people's voices has a different kind of twang and and like a little tweak to it,
for
and
sure.
like it. That is also what makes artists great. Is like
100%.
How their voice. Obviously, how their voice sounds.
Yeah.
But you got this chop, and then, dude, like I could listen to your voice and like like an EDM song, like a house song that like you know, it's got that like kind of trance like trance-esque sound to it. That's almost.
Yeah. I'm trying to play around with sound, like soundscapes that are closer to that at some point. Yeah, I'm definitely
deep house song. I don't even know where that came out, but like just like the flow to it almost. I don't know.
That's what's up. Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to try. I've also wanted to try rock rap, like Linkin Park stuff. Like I really feel like
you could throw some dirty dubstep on your rap too. That'd probably be pretty sick.
Yeah, I remember when I first started, a lot of people were like, "Dude, you sound like Mike Shinoda." Like, and I was like, "Well, yeah, I listen to Mike Shinoda all the time."
It influences.
And even like Gio from Blue Scholars, a bunch of people were like, "You're like the next Gio," and I'm like, I'm not taking it as an insult. For sure.
But that's nothing no one wants to hear. You're the next Bing. It's like, no dude, I'm me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. That's awesome, man. Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on? Share.
I think someone did ask.
What's top of mind for you right now?
I think for me, on the top, like what's on my brain these days really is I just released an album. 4 songs. It's a real shorty. It's an EP. It's like 13 minutes long total. I released it on January 15th. I haven't been paying attention to the numbers, but really I felt like I wrote the album in a very critical moment in my journey. I wrote it at the end of last year during our snow days. We had like a couple of snow days. And that's when I was like, I'm just going to sit at home and just...
All 4 of those songs were written during snow days?
Yeah, all 4 of the songs were written during the snow days. So there's definitely like this colder tone to not just the music itself, but I think to the lyrics, like just colder to the touch, I think, when we talk about the texture of the words. And yeah, I was working my way out of feeling very doubtful about whether or not I should continue what I'm doing in 2020, to be honest. I was ready to throw in the towel, you know? I was ready to just walk away from all of it and just be like, I'm just going to go back to teaching. Not that there's anything wrong with teaching, but yeah, I was feeling very helpless, to be honest. Like, and so I used these 4 songs to kind of search for answers and like look inside of myself and ask myself, like, is this really for you? Are you really still going to try and do this?
What was that? What was causing you to feel that way?
So I was not recently, but I had been rejected by Netflix. I don't know if you saw their new rap competition show called Rhythm and Flow. I auditioned for it. I went through the whole process, and their casting director like really liked my stuff, liked my entry, loved our interview. I would assume, you know, based on his feedback and based on how he was reacting to a lot of this stuff. So yeah, I thought I had it locked. You know what I mean? I thought I had it locked. And then come to find I didn't, and that they went on to select a couple of other Denver rappers. And no hate, man, no shade. They're dope. I like the Denver rappers they chose, but you know, the rejection definitely messed me up emotionally and mentally. And I think as an artist, I just feel things on a much more intense level than like maybe the average person. I don't know, but I thought I was good. I thought I had gotten past all the doubt and like hurt that I felt from the rejection until the show finally aired.
Got that FOMO.
Yeah. And then I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm seeing a few rappers that I've been in the same room with at past events and past shows. People I've sat and talked with, and it's just like, am I not good enough? Like, I should have been there. I should have been on this show, you know? And just like all the challenges they were throwing at the contestants, it was like, dude, I'm a freestyle rap battle champion back in Guam. Like, dude, I've been a semifinalist for cypher competitions on an international level. Like, this is my stuff. I'm perfect for this. And so I felt really down, man. I just felt like giving up and quitting. And I think that was the root cause of it. I hadn't really faced it all. I kind of just swept it under the rug. You know, I didn't talk to too many people about it. I was just kind of like, I'm good. I'll be fine. I'm good. And then the show dropped, and I was like, I am not good, y'all. I'm out. In fact, I am out. I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. So I felt really negative about myself and where I was headed. And so I wrote This Road, and it might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but really, I wrote it on my snow days. I think there were like 4 snow days we had last year. And so I completed the album, the writing process in those 4 snow days. I recorded it And I'm not the most experienced mix and master as far as post-production goes, but I did it all myself within like a week and a half. And then I just said, I'm putting it out in the world, and whoever vibes with it will vibe with it. And whoever, in my mind, I was like, I wrote this for me. I didn't write this for anybody else. I wrote this for me. And so I knew in my heart, like, the people who are going to love it are the people who already love me and who want to see me win. And they're going to hear what I'm really trying to say in these 4 songs. And I think that's been the reception so far. Is like, you know, the messages that have been coming in is like very encouraging. Like, yo, some people have been like, man, I feel so bad. I didn't even realize you were going through all of this. Like, I should have checked up on you, you know, and it's like, it's cool, you know.
You almost kind of told that story.
Yes.
In it.
Yeah. I told that story sort of in the music, and people, and that's what it is, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you feel down about that, or do you feel more inspired now to keep working harder?
I do feel a lot more like myself. I think that I'm not yet completely out of the woods as far as my self-doubt goes. If it was a weather forecast, the way I would say it is like, it's partly cloudy. You know what I'm saying? Mostly sunny, partly cloudy is where I'm at right now. It's like it kind of comes and goes. It hangs over my head for a little bit, and then it kind of just...
Dude, I think anybody who makes it great has experienced that at some point in time.
I think so.
And from what I've heard,
you
know, I felt imposter syndrome.
Oh gosh, tell me about that.
That's the biggest thing, imposter syndrome, right? Like, dude, I'm a fake. Like,
especially
people are gonna figure
Guam,
it out.
Especially
you know
coming from
mean?
Guam, like, I feel that so much, so often. Like, I'm just a little island kid. What am I doing here? You know.
But from all the successful people I've studied, interviewed, talked to, it's the only defining difference is some of those people are going to do that Netflix show, come back and do nothing with it.
True, 100%.
Some of them are going to pop off, obviously, make it great, make it big.
For sure.
But consistency and winning out and not giving in, not throwing in the towel is the only difference between those who have made it and those who haven't. 100%. Colonel, I do think of anyone, like you see those memes of people who have like made it big or whatever, like Walt Disney and Oprah, and you know, Oprah was fired from her first broadcasting job. Dude, how disheartening. But she didn't give up. They didn't give up.
Michael Jordan got cut from his...
Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. Wait, was it high school?
I think high school,
Yeah. So, dude, I mean, for anybody listening, is like the only defining moment is when you decide to throw in the towel. And imposter syndrome is actually a signifier that you're not an imposter.
What? Hold up. What?
If you and this took me a long time to wrap my arms around, because someone else had to express this to me. But when you're feeling that imposter syndrome, a person who's an actual imposter doesn't feel that.
What? Dang.
It's like if you feel like you're going crazy, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. Someone who's actually crazy doesn't know they're crazy.
100%. Yeah.
Doesn't have self-awareness to that. It's the same thing with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. I like that. Thank you, Connor.
Dude, your music's phenomenal. You got to keep pumping. Keep pumping it out. Like, if you can outproduce everyone,
for sure.
That's the only way is like I work harder and put more out, 100%. even when it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Because it could still be perfect to someone else.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I think that's where my head is at these days, is kind of just like stay the course. You know, stay the course, don't deviate.
Definitely.
You've put in 10 years of work.
If you do, I will personally hunt you down.
But where's the...
You got too much potential to, like, you're going to pop off here, I guarantee it.
I appreciate
All it takes is one person.
Yeah, the right person.
One person.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it.
100%.
Happens with everybody.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. Don't get down on yourself, man.
Yeah.
One last question. Sure. What, just for those who are artists, something I've noticed a lot in the world of artistry is would you claim yourself to be an artist, a creative?
Yes, 100%.
But what you do differently, Meta, you're actually a really great businessman because you've been able to actually monetize on your art. Many people don't. They are starving artists.
Yeah.
They're writers, they're rappers, they're hip-hop artists, they're rock and roll. You name it, you plug it. They're entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And they're not actually able, because you have to. We live on an economic planet. So what advice would you give for artists out there to build it into a business?
this is okay. Let me let it simmer. I've thought about this I
like how you internalize things, by the way. It's very thoughtful.
I try.
Because people want to fire off an answer right away, but you really do. I can tell, like, you're very thoughtful about it.
I'm trying to be. I just want to give something useful, you know? Because I remember how hard it was for me to get to this level. My advice would be, and this to artists in general, is figure out who your audience is. Because so many artists create, especially in this day and age, because of social media, they're just like, I'm just going to put it on my social media and hope it's seen, as opposed to, I know exactly who I am, right? They're just hoping and praying, and like, it's not going to work, dude. Like, for me, I know exactly, at least generally, who I'm trying to reach.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, it's not the middle school kids, as far as my music is concerned and my poetry is concerned. I'm not trying to make them a fan. I'm trying to go in to work with them and teach them stuff. But my fans and the people who are going to be the patrons, right, and supporters of my business are really maybe the senior in high school, but mainly the college kids. Like those college kids who are like sophomore and up, close to graduating. They're my like target business, right? Why? Because when it comes to booking keynote addresses, when it comes to teaching workshops, college like deans or department chairs, they want me to go in and talk to them. And that's where a lot of, I think I've been able to find a niche, is like anytime a university or a conference wants me to come speak, I'm also rapping at the conference. Right.
Are you pursuing those? Like, do you actively?
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix was a business move for you.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's one of a million that exists out there.
There's so many things out there. And artists aren't.
But most people sit around and like, oh,
and
Netflix
cross their fingers.
And like, Netflix is going to pick me up, bro. It's like, I'm going to get found. But no. What you're saying, what you've done differently is first off, you found your niche. You know who your audience is.
Yes.
First thing to solve, and then
actively pursue these leads and learn how to close on these leads. It's very business like rhetoric.
That's what I'm saying. You're a great businessman.
Yeah, but it's so essential.
Successful.
So many young artists especially don't get that. They're just like, I'm just gonna put, like, okay, let me put it to you this way. How many shopping mall windows have you walked by and actually saw something and went home and talked about it? Right? Like, I don't remember the last time I walked by a shopping window and was like, oh my gosh, that is the most amazing outfit ever. No, like, it doesn't work that way. So if you're treating your art like a mannequin installation, no one's really gonna buy. How many times have you bought something off a mannequin? You know, like, never. Never.
I just buy the mannequin.
Take it home. But yeah.
That one right there. That's it. That's going to be perfect.
Like, all of it. All the mannequins.
In my living room.
But I think that would be...
How creepy would that be? Sorry, we're going off the rails.
That would be my advice though, man, is understand your audience and actively pursue leads and understand how to close on those leads. And I try not to be like clinical about it and sterile about the business relationships that I form. Like there's oftentimes a very personal relationship in the business that's happening, right? Especially in my line of art, like poetry, it's super personal, right? Like if somebody wants me to come to the university, oftentimes it's because they heard me speak and they were personally moved by my ability and the subject matter of both my poems and my hip hop and my rap and my lyrics, and they want me to come and speak at their university, or they want me to keynote their events or a conference and stuff like that. And then on the rap side of things, there's a bunch of, I guess, promoters and producers who are slowly hearing like, this Meta guy he's a rapper, but he's also like a speaker. Like maybe we should get him in on our bill, you know. And like now that's happening, and so I think aside from knowing your audience, pursuing your leads, and closing on your leads, understanding your worth. Like if you're new to the game, like don't be asking for like high prices, man. You know what I mean? I get it. Artists are worth, right? But a lot of money, I guess. But like you said, there's a starving artist. I'm not starving. You know what I mean? I can confidently say like, yeah, I'm not rolling in dough or nothing, but I'm good. You know, I'm good. And part of it is knowing my worth. When I come to the table with negotiations and talking to companies about their vision and things like that, I know my worth. And a lot of artists, I don't think they do. Mm-hmm. And it's a journey to understand that. But if
they don't think they do in both directions.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you there. And yeah, I think it's hard. It's hard to get to that place. You can't do it alone. You cannot do it alone. You need people who are experienced around you to help guide you. I am so thankful to the poetry community here in Denver, because honestly, if it wasn't for Slam Nuba, I don't think I would have my foot in the door in these places. Like, they gave me the compass, and they were like, this is where you need to go. This is generally how you can get there. The rest is on you. So that first tour I ever did, man, I was just emails, you know, just like falling. I think I sent like 150 emails in like a month and then even if only 10 of them respond to you, that's better than zero, you know.
So when you're touring, you were also pursuing business in the locations that you were going to?
100%. Yeah.
That's gangster.
It's
Who would have thought? Who would have thought, guys?
That's the independent.
Well, listen, you're just maximizing on where you're at already.
Exactly.
Like, I think that's a very interesting. I think people are going to have a lot to take away from that. Yeah. You know, everyone knows someone has some great art form that the thing they're missing is reach.
Yeah.
And consistency. Goes back to my main premises of everything marketing. Yeah. Right. Like, dude, you're a great marketer too. That's awesome.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, man. This has been
thank you for having
phenomenal.
me, bro.
I appreciate you so much for sharing.
I'm so happy to be here.
We'll have to do it again at some point in time.
Yes.
How can people get into contact with you?
Yeah, so Instagram is definitely a great place. I'm always on Instagram.
Slide into Meta's DMs.
Slide in my DMs. Just don't be creepy. Right? And what else? My website is also a really great place if you're not on socials. You know, reachmeta.com. Anything you might need on me is there.
Awesome, man. Sure. And your music.
Yeah,
where
my music,
your music,
Spotify, you know, all of the platforms, it's on there. Amazon Music, for those of you who don't use Spotify, or iTunes. It's on Tidal. There's a link in my bio that you can actually click, and it's usually updated with the latest releases that I have.
Yeah. Yes. Guys, hit this guy.
Please.
All right, let's blow him up.
Please.
Quick.
Hey.
Netflix.
Thank you.
Come on, Netflix.
See you in season 2.
Get it together.
Let's see.
No, thanks, man. Guys, also, as always, super, super grateful for you listening in. Don't forget, subscribe. That always helps.
Yes.
Please subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review.
Yes.
And give us a shout on social media, too.
Yes.
See? I brought us some. I got a little material. All right, guys. Love ya. See ya.